Hey Dreamsville. So I needed to make a bug report, and I figured while I was at it, I would do a quick rundown on how I like to do vehicle logic in Dreams. So to start off, we have 5 sculpts. We have the body sculpt, which is going to be the physics or the collision object, and then connected to that are 4 wheel hub sculpts. 2 in the front connected with motor bolts, 2 in the back connected with zero play sliders. And I do that as opposed to grouping them because it distributes their mass. Grouping sculpts combines their mass into one center point. Connecting them keeps their mass separate. On each one of these wheel hubs is some pretty basic logic. We have a laser scope connected to a mover, and this is your suspension. Laser scope's looking down. Your fall off is how much play or the limits of the suspension, and that's going to be connected to the forward speed. So as gravity brings the wheel down, or the corner of the vehicle down, this speed gets higher and higher until it meets an equilibrium. And how it gets there is dictated by the forward speed, your movement strength, and the up and down X damping, as well as the fall off here. So how long the suspension is, I guess you could say. All of these attributes can be played with to get looser or stiffer or more bouncy suspension. Also connected is on each one of these is your throttle mover. I do these separate, by the way, just so you have a separate movement strength for the suspension and for the throttle. So on the mover for throttle, we have, of course, speed and movement strength here. Most important is the sideways Y direction damping. So that's going to be how much grip the tires have. And then this is kind of going to be, I guess you could say, kind of like wind resistance in your forward direction. Here we leave this at 0 because we're already handling the up and down damping with the suspension. These are also connected or being powered by the laser scope. We do that because we don't want, obviously, if you're going over a jump and you're in the air, you don't want to be driving in the air, so we turn those off. But there's a bit of a roll off here. So as it kind of gets towards the end, it has a smooth roll off, and then a bit of a delay on the fall off as well. And that's basically just if you're going over a jump, it kind of stabilizes it a bit before these turn off. The other benefit to doing it this way and to turning these off is if you're taking a hard corner and the vehicle is leaning. So if we're driving forward this way and we go to the right really hard, it's going to these wheels are going to come off the ground a bit, which means they're going to lose grip. Well, that's going to power these off, which means you have less power going in the forward direction and less damping going in the sideways direction. So just by this simple setup, you have a pretty good simulation of tire friction. There's more you can do with this to make it a little better, but I find this is the best method to have a lot of play with suspension and with friction modeling. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like, driving it around. So it looks basically like a flying vehicle. And as you can see, it's kind of floaty. And that's because I have the suspension pretty big. So it kind of drives like a Buick. But if we wanted, let's say, tighter suspension, for like a sports car, for example, first thing we can play with is this fall off. Make that smaller. So much less play in the suspension. And then let's see what that feels like. So it definitely kind of hugs the road a little bit more. And then of course you could play with the other attributes too to kind of really nail it down how you want it to feel. So that's all great, but we just have floating cubes. That's not very helpful if you're making a car. So the visuals, if this is all the logic, the visuals is basically just you have your sculpts for a car body and for wheels, and you teleport them to these objects. And that's what we have here. Or here. So we have 4 wheels and a body. All the body is doing is teleporting to this, and all the wheels are doing are teleporting to each one of these. And we also have a keyframe, which is the suspension. And then on each one of these, because these aren't going to rotate by moving on the ground. These are non-physical, so they're not interacting with the environment in any way. So in order to get these to rotate, we basically have to convert linear velocity into rotational velocity, and that's what this does. It multiplies the velocity by 60 and divides that by the circumference of the wheel. And then it's being teleported to the wheel hubs, and you have moving tires. And that's basically it. There's definitely some downsides to doing it this method, and there's, obviously there's no perfect way or right way. Doing all connectors in physics has its benefits as well, but for the ability to play with the suspension, I prefer this method. So yeah. And obviously, the collision object, you want that to be somewhat in the shape of the vehicle. But it is one important fact, it's not a rule, but an important thing to keep in mind is these objects here you want to try to keep as symmetrical and centered as possible. So for this vehicle, I would probably just do a rounded box for the collision. And the reason for that is if this is unbalanced, it's going to push down on one side or the other, and it's going to want to crawl to the side, crawl forward and back, depending on where the weight's distributed. And that's because these movers are pushing straight up. If this thing's at an angle, they're going to push in that direction. One way you can combat that, which has its pros and cons, is you can make these movers not local, so you can make these global, and they will always go in the opposite, they'll always go straight up, regardless of how tilted this is. The downside is if you're on an incline or a decline, it won't naturally coast down those hills. As for the issue I was having, this is basically how I've done car logic since early access. But I guess one thing I did differently this time around when I was making that hover bike that I didn't do in the past is on these sliders, which isn't really necessary, but I didn't think it would hurt anything, is I set the tightness to 100%. And the weird effect that has, if we turn all of the logic off here, so there's no logic active, these, we'll even set these to 0 strength. So there's nothing that can move on these. The only thing that we have is the tightness to 100 on these. And there it goes. I would say that's definitely a bug. Now, the other issue, the other thing I was doing is I didn't think the length mattered on these. So I was just doing this, just to get them out of the way. And the weird effect that has is these, when we turn these front wheels, it doesn't want to register. Or it does that. Basically, I can only drive in a straight line. I have no idea what's going on here. But anyway, that's the issue I was having. Definitely a bug of some kind. Yeah. So that's how I do car logic.